Hey gang, it's Craig from Arms and Armor. Friday afternoon and it's a little nuts in the shop here. We're trying to get a bunch of stuff done and maybe stop for a little happy hour at the end, but the phone's been going off the hook because some 800 number bill collector's been handing out our 800 number to collect people's bills. So, but anyway, I had a great talk this afternoon with a young man who was called up to discuss edges and how you put an edge on a sword and angles and things. And he was full of information trying to tell me how our swords should be sharpened if he was going to order one. And it gave me the idea that maybe we could talk a little bit about edges and how they work. I got a piece of that kind of high density sticky foam here that some people use for test cutting, similar to tatami kind of thing. And we're just gonna run some edges over it and see how those things work, how they seem to interact with this material. And just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that, because edges are something that's very important on a sword, especially if you're trying to cut with tatami and things like that. But edges are just an angle. It's just where two parts of the material are coming together at a particular angle. So like a kitchen knife is often going to be very shallow, 12, 14 degrees, sometimes a little more. Swords are usually a bit more than that. We're gonna take some swords right off the rack. The first one's gonna be our French medieval sword. This is just your classic Wallace collection French medieval sword right out of the Wallace. And what we're gonna do is just run this piece over the material and see if it wants to cut. I've just rested it on there and it's already gone down in about a 1/4 inch or so. So we would anticipate that this edge will cut pretty nicely with just a little bit of a push. Not down pushing at all on my hand, up from my hand. Exceptionally easy to go with that particular piece. Let's try our Black Prince. So our classic Type 15, thrusting against armor, all that kind of type of sword, Fiore, right out of the manual. Again, it's got a thicker blade now than the French medieval. It's got a more intense kind of thrusting action. But what we're gonna try and do here is, again, just put it on that foam and just kind of push forward. There's a little more resistance there, but as you can see, that goes right in. Because it's a thicker blade, I could tell the foam was resisting it a little more. So you can see that the thickness of your blade will affect how it cuts and moves. So when you're cutting tatami especially, you have to be aware of that. You can't pooch your cut and do a J-hook. You gotta keep it straight and smooth. Next, we're gonna try our Bohemian. This is our Bohemian sword with a nice detailing on the hilt. This is that hexagonal blade sword that Nathan was talking about a couple videos ago. So this blade starts out very thin and it's flat through most of this section of the blade, coming down on the edges just with a bevel of maybe a 1/2 inch or so. So again, we'll place that on our material and just give it a straightforward push. Goes in pretty easily, nothing too dramatic, but it cuts very easily into that material. And then as the gentleman I was talking to was telling me how kitchen knives were such and such and would cut this way and that, here we got a brand new kitchen knife, taking it right out of the package here. Now, a lot of people would say taking it right out of the package, it needs to sharpen it, but most places will sell you a kitchen knife that is sharp, ready to go. So we'll place that on there. I'm gonna push a little harder, but just so I have so much less blade travel. But you can see it cuts right in, but not remotely different than those swords we're cutting, right? But this has got a much finer edge. This is probably 12 degrees, maybe even 10, coming in on that edge there. Now, here's an old friend from when we were doing our test cutting and sharp on sharp. So we've resharpened a portion of this. It's got some heavy nicks in that blade. I figured we'd try that and put that sharp edge, but with the nicks on there. and you can kind of hear those nicks hit, but even though it's been kind of reground in that section, we take the clean edge, and again, just cuts real smoothly with that edge. So most sword edges are going to cut into your materials really easily, right? Human beings are soft, steel is hard. Even steel that isn't necessarily hardened is going to be harder than your body. Here's a piece of 16 gauge cold rolled steel. Okay, I took it in and threw a little edge on there. We'll lay that on there, give it a little push forward. Okay, that went in really easily, right? This is only 16 gauge thick. See if I can get it lined up. Very thin blade, right? And all I did was whip a 400 grit belt on there and run an edge until I couldn't see a white line against the light on there, right? So this will bend. I can bend this into a curl with my hand, but as you can see, very good effective cutters. You know, if it's the zombie apocalypse and you're in the UK and they've just banned all the zombie knives for you, go out and buy yourself a nice piece of 16 gauge and a fine file and throw an edge on there. Okay, edges will go on to just about any hard material and you can cut with them. Don't get wrapped up and you have to have 11.2 degrees or that it's got to be a 600 grit or a 1200 grit edge. Edges are edges and they'll cut, and it's got a lot more to do with the ground grip interface on your weapon as far as how well it cuts than the exact angle of your edge. You guys have a great day. Watch our vids. Come on down to the shop and visit us, and we'll have a good time. See you later.